Welcome everyone. I represent Whistling Woods in that plethora of people who are supporting. What is amazing being here is that Daria was my student, then she was my colleague, Aahana was my student, and I work for Meghna. Meghna is my third woman boss. Patty Tassi, and then Randy Summers, and now Meghna. And I think everyone should work for a woman sometime in their life. I think women should rule the world. That's the way I think about it. This is not the first time I've had interactions on Women's Day, and I think one thing that we men miss is the ability to bring life into this world. Only women can bring life, which is why if you've been following what's happening, the zeitgeist, India, Pakistan, Abhinandan, I've learned more about Abhinandan's mother than I've learned about him. That's really what our society is all about. You ladies are workers, you work, you're professionals, you're also mothers. So what I want to talk about is it more difficult being a woman in your work life? When I say work life, I just don't mean your professional life, what you do at home. I want to talk about your partners, how they contribute. Because a lot of my kids, when I interview them, I ask them, what do your parents do? They say, my dad's a businessman, he's a doctor, he's an engineer. And when I say, what does your mother do? They quiet down and say, oh, she's only a housewife. And I have to tell them that, I'm sorry, your mother works harder than your father does. Absolutely. Do you guys agree? Anybody here? Okay. All right. So let me start with Meghna because I know more about it. Okay, let's go. I'll start myself. I'll talk about my mother. मेरे पास माँ है. Shanti.
माइक भी है आपके पास.
Shanti, so tell me a little bit about your journey, and then we want to specifically talk about what impediments you faced as a woman.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you firstly for having me. It's nice to be here and chat about this.
Big fan of your films, I've told you.
Thank you so much, that's so kind of you. Although there are just two of them, it feels good. So the journey has been actually great so far, touch wood. I've only worked with amazing people who have only nurtured and allowed me to grow. So that's been a great, learning, because obviously there's going to be trouble and there's going to be roadblocks everywhere. But I think if you're focused and if you have the right people backing you, that can be fantastic. So my partners are great. We all have the same set of ethics. We may obviously disagree on a lot of things, which is healthy, but our value system is the same, our core is the same. So then it doesn't matter. And we all believe that you need a great work-life balance. Otherwise it can go crazy. Otherwise there's no life really. Because it's each that drives the other for me. I need my work as well to feel that I'm doing something else as well for my own thing. It's not for anything else. I love going to work. I love when, even after my child, I was happy to come back to work. And when I go home, I'm cherishing that time as well, because I'm trying to balance. There's no such thing that balance exists, but I'm trying.
Okay, a blunt question. Have you ever had somebody mansplain to you?
Sorry, what?
Mansplain, man explaining.
No.
I will tell you, I'm a man.
Oh, no, never. I've never had that actually.
Well, you're lucky.
I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. Obviously, there was one incident I remember. My partner is Atul Kazbekar, who's also very, very supportive. And there was an incident where I think one of our team members was spoken badly to. He personally called that person in front of all of us and said, I'm going to really, really take you down. You cannot, this is just no way to behave. So that code of conduct has been with us from day one. We've never, even if someone's spoken badly to me or a team member, it's never taken lightly. We've always replied very sternly, and it comes from the top. It's not just like, hey, I didn't like what you did. It's very, very a strongly worded email or a legal letter or anything that means an authority has called up and said, listen, it's not okay, so we don't want to work with you again. So we've taken that stand very, very clearly. So no, I've been very lucky. I've not faced this at all, actually.
So your company officially has a policy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I want Meghna to talk about that in a bit, but Meghna, tell us about your journey. When I first met you, I didn't know, but you were pregnant. Since then, you've had 2 kids?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you have 3. Whistling Woods is your oldest
first
baby.
baby. Yeah, my kids are quite jealous when I say that. How can you say that? So, good morning, everyone. It's been quite an amazing journey, and I think one of the things that I have really, really learned to appreciate is actually the men in my life. Because when I got pregnant, Whistling Woods was just about a year old. And at that point, there was a little worry that, because I was helming an institute, it was a new school, how was I going to manage? I had to assure everyone that, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be one of those women who works till their 9th month, and so I think that determination within me made it happen. I was working till a week before I delivered, and then the question to come back. I mean, I know a lot of you here are college kids and you may not relate to me very well, but the hardest part of a woman getting back to her career or to her job is after she has the baby, that separation anxiety. It's not just from the child, it's from us as well. 3-4 months of just living, breathing, seeing that baby and nurturing for it, you just are so nervous to get back. And one of the things I have to thank my organization for is that they literally bullied me into coming back into work. My husband works with me, which made it so much easier for me to take a maternity break without any stress that somebody was going to take over my job, because that's what would happen otherwise. And he also then came back home every night and said, please come back, I can't handle this. So that made me feel good, because I felt, okay, maybe I need to go back, because he's really having
still feels the same.
He's really having a stressful time. My father, who first time I came back after 3 months, second time I was trying to take a longer maternity. That time 6 months wasn't official. He literally bullied me into coming back. He said, what are you doing? It's been 4 months, you have to come back. I know if he was just my boss, it would be probably harassment for bringing me back to work, but because he was my father, it was all right. But I think if he hadn't done that, it would have been much harder for me to come back. So first of all, men at work, or just leadership at work, it could be women, men or women who are in the leadership positions need to be very empathetic towards women, I feel. Equality, but they need to really understand what it takes to come back to work. I have a senior colleague at work right now, and I spend the whole morning motivating her to come back to work, and she is taking a break, and I can feel her anxieties. And the great thing is that because I've been through it, I've been able to really encourage her to come back, giving her the assurance that, it's okay, you can work from home, you can do part-time. And one of the things she said to me just this morning was that, I know I have your support and I know you're great, but people watch you when you leave early. People in the organization judge you that, oh, why is she leaving at 5 just because she has the mom card? And I said to her that, I felt that as well. Being the boss, I felt that, but I just became immune to it, because at the end of the day, how many working hours do we actually dedicate? And I found women who are working with kids at home are actually more, I don't know what it is, maybe guilt, maybe just passion or whatever, they want to give 120% of those 6 hours or 7 hours that they spend at work. So I feel that women are, if you give them that encouragement to be able to work from home or whatever, they will actually give back more to the company than men who are working 12 hours a day. I think leadership is very important, which is what in my journey, I would say that really worked for me.
Well, talking about leadership, you bring up some very valid points. Whistling Woods is an organization, the first one I worked at, where there are more women than men. And it comes from the top. Yours also? We'll talk about that in a second. And it comes from the top. And as I said, all of you guys out there experience working for a woman once, and you'll realize why the wars are not fought on this planet by women. They're fought by men. Let's talk a little bit about why we have more women, and is it because of your empathy, understanding what a woman goes through? The radical policies you put in place, maternity leave, having a creche at work. Let's talk a little bit about what you've personally done to empower the women on our campus.
So one, that whenever we've interviewed for a position, we've never made that distinction whether we want to. I mean, I know companies that do that, okay, if I'm hiring a head of accounts, it must be a man.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you, Meghna.
Yeah.
I don't think that you consciously sit and say, she's got estrogen, he's got testosterone, let's take her. But I think what happens is that when you interview or when they talk to other people, they get the sense that women are respected here. This is a good place to work. Perhaps they get more encouraged than other places.
And I also am quite sensitive towards the men in my organization, because a couple of times that we've had Women's Day celebrations, the first few years, Mr. Somnath Sen here stood up and said, what about Men's Day celebrations? So I
We
said,
don't get roses.
come up with the day, come up with the day. So after that, I don't know if you noticed, but we started giving chocolates to men as well. And we said, whether you eat it up or you take it for your wife or sister or mom, but you know what, you should celebrate this day as well. So personally, whenever I have addressed my organization, staff, faculty, I've always spoken about life-work balance, but I've always said the life-work balance applies for men as well. I feel very strongly that if men do spend some more time at home, women can then actually spend more time at work as well. So that balance in today's day and age, when both husband and wife are working, it's important that men as well find that balance. So we have, I know you look at women bringing their kids to work, but we have a lot of men who bring their kids. Yeah, I mean, he brings his son, but we have a lot of men bringing their kids at work. One of my favorite examples about our creche is that when I was when I just had my kids, I brought my kids from day one. Okay, from the time I started, I was feeding them, breastfeeding them at work, and I used to bring them up, and they had a room. I started feeling like there were other women who were pregnant, and I started encouraging them to bring their babies at work. And they had different sorts of problems. Like they said to me, ma'am, you know, we come by train, and how do we bring a small baby in the train? It's so much easier to just, you know, kind of leave the milk at home and leave them with our mom or mother-in-law. So I understood whatever works for them. But then I had an opportunity for another female colleague of mine who wanted to use the creche. And I said, great, we did it up, you know, put everything out there. A couple of weeks, the day she started, with her daughter came her husband. And her husband sat in the creche with the baby while she worked on a computer, Disha. I was amazed. I was like, Disha, how come your husband is over? She's like, you know, he has a BD role. He has to just travel for work or work out, you know, from wherever he is. And he really wanted me to join back, so he's supporting me. You know, every time I think about this story, I have goosebumps, because I just feel that India is changing, things are changing, men are taking more responsibility, and you know, this is the kind of change that we want to see. So men or women, I think we should make an environment which is...
I didn't mean a crash only, I just said crash. Because I've been a house husband for more than a year, taking care of Aman, my son, when my ex-wife was working. Coming to, you know, you also said you have more women working.
Yes.
I want to bring something up here, since we're talking about women and media. I went looking for an office for a film I was making, and my ex-wife was with me, and the owner of the house said, no women after 6 p.m. in this office. Aahana's here, yay!
That is both of them.
Oh, that is also here, okay.
Oh, no, don't say that. We love it, we love it.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, we're going to do our little huggies. And
We're not together, right?
Oh my God, somebody else is a
we can be together.
Good, we got a chance to talk about mum things before you guys came. So we're covering that. Covering that, yeah.
So this house owner says, we just talk about media. House owner says, no women in this office after 6. So I'm like, my producer, her mom is a PhD, my mom is a PhD, we're educated. How can you put these kind of... Have you experienced that, being a woman in media, that it is considered media women?
No, I haven't actually. I've been very lucky, like I said, because from day one, the management agency has had a lot of women as a part of the crew. Like the hands-on managers are all women. I think it's also because we're just better at multitasking, in all honesty. No, we have guys as well, and like she said, I really, really appreciate the men in my team as well, but predominantly the management business has been run by women a lot. So we haven't really faced that discrimination at all, because to get the job done, you have to eventually speak to a woman, and you know she's gonna get it done. So I haven't had that, you know, ki after 6 baje koi aa nahi sakta, or because you're a woman, you're not gonna get it. And even if someone says this, it's so funny, you have to just laugh it off. You can't possibly take them seriously.
Give them the finger. Tell me a little bit about empowering women in your organization. If all the managers are women, I can. Yeah. So men are just, you know.
No.
Take this.
No.
We have men also.
I do have some very, very senior and like really, really great men in the team who are fantastic. No, I love them.
I'm going to bring Aahana in. I started my life career as an actor. And then I realized where the power was behind the camera. So,
Running Whistling Woods.
well, no, we're directing. But Shanti's talking about, most of the managers being, so managers have a sense of empowerment. As an actor, tell me about your experiences out there in the real world. Oh, yeah, please.
I'm sorry, first of all, for the delay. Coming back to this, hi everybody. And I started my...
You must have seen her in
I'm sure
movies.
they have. Yeah, I've been around for a bit. So, when I think we started out as actors, once I graduated from Whistling Woods. 2 years ago, right? Yeah, oh yeah, of course. It's 2 years ago. Yeah, it just seems like yesterday. But it does, I didn't realize till I was talking to somebody and then I was like, oh, it's really been that long. One doesn't realize because the struggle becomes so long that, eventually when you start bearing fruits of the struggle, then you think that, Arey, abhi to graduate hue the. Like, it's already been so long. I just recently, in fact, met a couple of ex-students over dinner, and it just happened that I was in the same place, and then they happened to be there. And most of them have left acting careers, and they were all my batchmates. And I think on that table, I'm the only one who's pursued a career in acting, and a girl. So my class consisted of 20 students, and I was just thinking about this morning, It's 20 students in a classroom, 4 girls, 16 boys, out of which, look at the ratio of the people who are working in the film industry, as of today, from the first batch. In the girls, there's only me. In the boys, there is no one. Absolutely no boys in the film industry working as an actor. There is Shashank Khaitan, who's working as a director now, but he's not an actor. Pavel, Pavel, I completely forgot about him. Neha, is she acting full-time? I don't know. So I don't know, I'm not in touch with them, so I have no idea what they are doing. Gaurav, Akash. Gaurav and Akash. Akash is doing hang on. But I'm just saying, look at the ratio again. Amongst the girls, it's only Neha and me, and amongst the boys, it's like about 5 people. But it's also taken them that long. Also, I don't know whether Gaurav is not really doing mainstream, so I had no idea about what Gaurav is doing.
Marathi mainstream.
Yeah, so I didn't, the thing is that I'm not aware of that space and that world. So, and Pavel, I think he's doing a couple of things, I have no idea what he's doing, but there are these people, they're very handful is what I'm trying to say. I was sitting on a table and there were at least 6, 7 boys who were not doing anything and had gone back to Papa's business. So it really takes a lot of perseverance to keep pushing, accepting rejection on a daily basis, in terms of your physical appearance, in terms of who you are, what have you done. Are you still going to audition despite the fact that you've spent 15 years in the film industry and you know what you're doing and you know that you've done so much work? Even today I get calls where they say, Ki, you have to test for that part. And I'm just like, okay, I understand if it's a big production house which is of some worth, then I do audition for it. So the struggle is real. The struggle is going to keep happening. And there's absolutely no way out. And it's never that you've made it. If an Amitabh Bachchan still believes that he's still going to go out there, wake up every morning, and going to go and do that job on a Sunday, where I often see him at famous studios, at Mehboob Studios, and I once bumped into him and I said, why do you work on a Sunday? So he just said, this is what I do because this is what keeps me alive, So I always feel that, for actors, it's never going to be easy. It's never, you always have to keep
As a
moving.
woman, do you feel like male colleagues, do you think they get a little, they get a free ride more than you?
No, not at all.
Do they get paid more?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
they do.
Do they have to jump through more hoops than you?
I don't
have to
think
jump through more
so.
hoops.
So the thing is that at least we've been really lucky actually in the last 3 years. The web has really given jobs to us. If I was still depending on films and if I was entirely depending on theater or television, I probably would have not been able to do the kind of work that I'm doing as of today. I think the web has really come and changed the face of the kind of work that we are doing today. People look at us and go like, okay, this is an actor of worth. Or this, sorry, just 1 minute. I didn't switch my phone off. It has to be on. Checking whether I've reached or not. So coming back to the pay gap. The pay gap is for real, guys and girls. Women have to fight the pay gap. And I didn't realize this till I was recently part of a web show. And mine and my co-actor's role is the same. We were paired opposite each other. And it just happened to be that, there was a conversation going on, and suddenly somebody spoke about, what the contracts are like. And my contract and his contract was exactly the same except for the pay. And I was just getting a few lakhs lesser than him, it wasn't too much. But I was like, why am I getting paid lesser than this guy, And it was really weird because I was like, aren't we doing the same thing? And I didn't realize it till I started speaking to a lot of female counterparts. And then they started realizing, I think it's been a realization over a period of conversations and a period of time, that you go like, okay, we're all doing the same job, we're all doing the same show, but we all are getting paid in unequally.
And you
That's a
spend
good,
more, you
sorry,
spend
just
more
to
on
add.
makeup.
Okay, sorry.
You spend more time.
Yeah, and I am called 1 hour extra for hair and makeup. So if so you know what, if my contract if their contract says 12 hours, those guys turn up at 9 p.m. for a 9 p.m. shift. But I turn up at 9 a.m., but I turn up at 8 a.m. for a 9 a.m. shift, because I go then the channel will just be like, oh, but you need 1 hour extra for hair and makeup. But I'm like, but I have hair and makeup to do. Unless you want me to just come out of bed like the way I look, I'm happy to do that, But this is not what...
So I'm just saying that the change here is very positive, because I know in the 80s and 90s, it was accepted. Even somebody like Sri Devi would accept that she would get paid less than Jitendra. That was just accepted and it was okay. Today, the fact that women are realizing and women are making, people like her who make films like Nirja and Tumhari Sulu and make over 100 CR, I know, but you're not bringing it up enough. 100 crore movies like Razi, okay, but close, yaar. And make such an impact with a woman at the helm of the film is just so amazing. So I feel like women like her can make that difference, because when you hire those women actresses, you make sure that you pay them the same as the men.
Having said that, Meghna.
Not just write women-centric films.
Having said that, Meghna, heroes are known as 100 crore heroes. Aahana has worked in 3 films, which made 100 crores. She's not a 100 crore heroine. She will be replaced. Gajini, Amir Khan will not be.
But having said that, there is a difference, and her role wasn't really, like what she's saying, it wasn't equal.
So what? You are in a movie, you're the main lead actress.
I'll have to barge in here. A film like Mani Karnika is what I'm saying. Okay, a film like Padmavati, which the film had an equal amount of role for the woman as well as the man. I think when that equality, and the women have to be mindful. As actresses, today I'm mindful. Like when I select a role, even on the web space, at least there I have the upper hand right now, because that's where at least I'm doing enough work. So when I go to a filmmaker approaches me and says, this is your role, not bragging, but I've said no to 10 old Balaji shows till now. And it's been constantly like the male has a bigger part or a longer part than the female. And I'm not okay with that, because I really want to do roles in the web, at least in the web. As actresses, we have that space where I go I select the part I want to do. And you write the role according to what we think is right also. So it has to be collaborative, or else don't come to me. So there are a lot of filmmakers, who are now, I think, moving to web. In fact, I've met so many filmmakers, it's been amazing, Meghna. I go and do meetings with these really big filmmakers, and they all are coming to us and they're going oh, we really want you to do our show. And I go but you just made such a huge film like 15 years ago,
And me into your office.
Yeah, I didn't even know, at that time I was dying to get a meeting with you, and today I'm sitting and dictating terms and conditions, and I'm saying, no, I don't want to do your show, or I want to do your show,
I'm going to bring Daria in, but just before that, quick question. Dirty picture. Did Vidya Balan make more than Nasiruddin Shah?
I wasn't negotiating with Balaji that time. I don't have access to his agreement.
All right, my point is made.